Hello, we're live on Wild Ginger Running, and today we have a very special guest speaker on about trail running nutrition. She's worked with world champion ultra runners, adventure racers, Olympic athletes, elite climbers. She's worked for Sports Scotland Institute of Sport and the British Ski Academy. So it's with great pleasure today that I introduce Rebecca Dent for this talk to inspire us all into fueling right for trail running, both in training and racing. So personally, I'm just hoping she'll let me know how much cake I can eat. But welcome, Rebecca. How are you doing today?
Thank you for having me. It's great to be here, and I hope I can give some informative information and some bits of practical advice people can take away and start using straight away. But I'm well. No, I'm good. It's here. It's nice and well. It was nice and sunny here in the Alps today. So I'm happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. That's fantastic. So we've got you as a speaker for one of our training camps. So I'm just going to check just before we continue with the questions that everybody from the training camp can hear us. So let me just give Dave a quick message and see whether you're in. Are you in, Dave? Can you find us? Just to check that everybody's here listening. Dave, if you are watching, if you could write a comment in the live comments, that'd be great. And then we'll see where we're at. So yeah, let's just start off with a bit about you, Rebecca. So obviously nutrition's a big passion for you, and you've worked with loads and loads of top athletes, which is absolutely fantastic. So just tell us a bit more about where you're based currently, and what services do you provide. First things first, let's ask a little bit more about you, and how you became interested in nutrition. Like what makes you love this field so much?
Yeah, so I guess I was one of the fortunate ones, and I knew since the age of 15 I wanted to be a sports dietitian. I have a cousin who was a dietitian, and so it always interested me speaking to her. But my mum, growing up, was always into healthy eating, and there was 6 of us in the family all together, and so meal times was always a really big, was a kind of an occasion where we all sat around at the table, and and what sticks at the front of my mind is Christmases and Saturday evenings, having a buffet dinner in front of the TV, and food was really celebrated. And my mum also had a really good approach to healthy eating, and she taught me and my sister to cook and fend for ourselves at an early age. So really I was kind of drawn into it from an early age, really. And then I always loved sport, so have been a trail runner since a young age. I grew up in the Forest of Dean, so had trails on the back door. So running has always been a passion, always loved doing sport at school. So I just thought, what a great combination to combine nutrition and sport. And nutrition's a fantastic topic. It's emotive. We all have some knowledge and beliefs around nutrition. So again, it always inspires really good conversations, and it was always something people is interested in. Mm-hmm. And with all the nutrition science coming through and everybody's different dietary preferences, we're never short of anything to talk about.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you said there were 6 of you around the table. Have you got 4 brothers and sisters then?
I've got a twin sister and 2 older brothers. So yeah, there was 6
fantastic.
of us. 6 of us growing up. So it was good fun.
Cool. So is that an identical twin?
Oh yes, she is actually. She is an
Wow.
identical twin. Yeah. So although she lives back in the UK, so I often forget that I've got a twin sister, and then when we hang out, people sort of stare at us, and we're like, oh yeah, I forgot. I've got
we're identical
twins. Yeah. So it's quite cool.
That's so fun. And is she also interested in nutrition? Has she taken it up as a career like you did, or are you very different kind of personality-wise?
We're quite different. We're very sporty. She's a mountain bike instructor, a mountain bike guide, but she also is an event manager. So she's currently working on the Commonwealth Games in Birmingham, and she was event manager for the triathlon at the 2012 London Olympics. So she's, we both really love being involved in sport and elite sport, but obviously love participating in sport and working with everyone at all levels of sport. So it's just, it's in the blood, I think.
Yeah, that's amazing. Oh yeah, well you have worked with a lot of top athletes. So you're based in Chamonix currently. Do you just do the top end athletes, or do you provide services to everybody? What kind of things can you do for normal runners like me and the people on the training camp?
Yeah, so I work with anybody from all levels of abilities. For me, people like yourself and people who join trail running camps, the people that inspire me the most often, because often people have these goals of trail running or ultra running or doing some big adventure, and actually they got families, they got full-time jobs, and then they're trying to fit in this personal pursuit for themselves. So often I'm really excited to work with these people because I can really help people with their nutrition to help optimize their training or their races, or just help them fuel better during their runs so they can really get the most out of the day and enjoy it more as well. So again, I work with anybody of all range of abilities, and it's just good fun. So and then I kind of do one-to-one services, and I've also just launched my first online group nutrition program for ultra runners.
Oh, cool.
And then,
cool.
Yeah, so we've just launched that, hoping to sign people up and get that going in November. So that's a kind of an 8-week program to help people walk them through the journey of nutrition for day-to-day training, performance, races, kind of GI issues, stomach issues that I know we're going to touch on today. So really helping give people the information and educate them and empower them to make changes to really go on to then fuel their training and performance better. And then in 2022 we're hoping to launch some more programs for the female athlete, people who prefer vegan or vegetarian, so and mountaineers. So yeah, lots of topics coming as well.
That sounds super interesting. And you touched just there on how fuel can help your performance, because we were just talking in the strength session that we did, we were just talking about training and getting a coach, and one of the people on the training camp was saying that you can spend all this time training your body, but then if you don't eat right, then how important is that? So I just wanted to put to you just how important is nutrition for trail runners? Like, does it matter what we eat? Because I always say, I can run so that I can eat cake, but am I doing that wrong? Or like, how important is it to eat really healthily and nutritionally wisely, in your opinion?
It's a really great question, and I wouldn't deny anyone of cake. So it's kind of, it's nice to hear that we have this enjoyment and pleasure around eating, and cake is never off the menu as far as I'm concerned. But when it comes to training, particularly strength training and also trail running training, so run training in general, it's kind of the difference between eating, I guess, 2,000 worth of calories of McDonald's compared to 2,000 worth of calories of, say, salmon, sweet potato and vegetables. The nutritional quality is completely different. And for us to help us adapt, recover, respond to that training session, and for us to kind of reach our full fitness potential, so make the most of those sessions, it's really about the quality of the nutrients and where those calories are coming from that give our body the building blocks and the nutrients it needs to really and stronger.
Oh, sorry, we just lost you there, that last little bit, Rebecca. Can you just say that last bit again? We just the last little bit again. Yeah, I just lost you there. Sorry.
Am I back again? Sorry.
Yeah, you're back.
So the key thing is really to make sure that we're getting the right nutrients that the body needs to adapt, to recover, and to respond to that exercise stimulus, so that we can get fitter and stronger. So really it's about giving yourself the best chance to get the most out of that session, so that you can then get better at your sport and better at what you're trying to achieve.
So it sounds like if two people are doing the same training, or like they're training really well for them, like they're doing their perfect training plans, if one of them just eats a load of junk food and lots of biscuits and cake, they won't necessarily get the most out of themselves, whereas the person who's eating nice healthy rice, broccoli, lean chicken, fish, they will go further or recover quicker, so that they can go further. Is that fair to say? That's what you mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And when I start working with anyone in terms of their training goals and body composition goals and things like that, that actually when people start to implement these changes towards the better quality nutrition, the whole foods, and thinking about the composition of what we eat, which I think we'll go into, then again, yes, you're giving your body the best chance it has to get fitter and stronger, and giving it the exact nutrients it needs in terms of muscle recovery, cell recovery, all of that. That's important, supporting your immune system, supporting recovery, general recovery from the exercise. So it's all really key. And again, with people who I work to help make these changes, within a couple of weeks, they already start to notice the benefits just in terms of improved energy levels, improved recovery. They're feeling fitter and stronger. People become leaner. They start to feel like they're building better kind of body composition. So there's lots of positive changes that can happen in a small amount of time, just with general improvements in your day-to-day eating and supporting your training.
That's a really attractive proposition. So so with that in mind, are you able to give us a little bit of an idea of the best things to eat during training then? So like, have you in particular got a favourite kind of breakfast, lunch, dinner that you recommend to people, or that you yourself like to eat with before, like during training for trail running?
Yeah, so during training, again, it depends on how long you're running for. And it could be that, if you're only going out for a 60-minute run, you won't necessarily need to eat anything. But then if it's longer than that, sort of beyond 60 minutes, a couple of hours, then actually it's quite a good idea to then start to take things with you to eat on the go. And most of us know that it is carbohydrate foods, easy to digest carbohydrate foods, because then when we eat them, they give us a quicker supply of energy. The more popular things that trail runners tend to take are kind of your natural cereal bars, things like your Kind bar, Eat Natural, Nature Valley, oat cakes are another good one, naked bars, kind of your pressed fruit and nut bars. They tend to go down easier with people, kind of more of a real food option. And they provide a mix of fuels with the oats and the pressed fruit and some of the sugars that are in them. So they're great. Other people like to take more of the sports bars, like Cliff bars, power bars, those kind of things. And then for longer distances, kind of beyond your 2.5 to 3 hours, if you're out trail running, then people start to take things like nut butters that's got a mix of fats and sugars in. Potatoes, cooked potatoes, we know that they're as good as gels in terms of fueling our exercise. Cooked potatoes are great, and they move you away from that sweet flavour. So often they can be a good alternative, and they keep quite well in our bags. Sandwiches or wraps. Wraps are quite popular because you can squash them and they're still edible. And then obviously people will take gels, sports drinks, sports waffles, jellies, and Cliff Shot blocks. They're all great to have to hand just for a quick energy boost. So it depends on your preference and your taste preference as to what you take with you. But again, it's thinking about how long are you going out for, and then as a rule of thumb, maybe one snack item per hour, and then you can drip feed throughout that session that's longer than 60 minutes and just see how you get on.
That sounds good. Have you ever taken a quiche on a trail run with you? Because once I was running a 40-mile race and I was kind of running along whimpering because it was about 30 miles in, and I just suddenly remembered I had a quiche at the bottom of my bag, but it was really hard to get to it and open it and eat it, and I found myself just running along with the quiche like this, just biting into it. Can you eat real foods like that on long races, or would you recommend taking the kind of the gels and the bars, like the Cliff bars and the naked bars and things?
I mean, I've heard different varying stories of people take quiche out here in France. Quiche is often sold in the bakery, so often people will pick up a quiche and put it in their pack. And obviously, I've seen people run with them. I've heard some not very pleasant stories about people eating quiche and then it upsetting their stomachs. Quiche is great in the sense if you're going for a longer distance, it's got some protein in it, will have some calories in, but it's very little carbohydrate. So it's something, if you're going out for a whole day, then actually it'll be good as something to give you a change in flavor, maybe a boost in protein. And people eat all sorts of things in ultra distances. You hear of pizzas, you hear of, quiche, pork pies, crisps, anything that people tend to fancy that will go down. But in general, in terms of the types of foods, it's trying to stick with the carbohydrate-based foods and then getting used to eating on the go and just trialing different foods to see which ones you prefer.
Yes. Yeah, you've got to give them a go, haven't you? You can't. There's that rule, isn't there, with gear and nutrition? Don't try anything new on race day. And I know that Vassos Alexander, he's a sports presenter. He was on the BBC. Now he works for Virgin. He always used to go out in a foreign place for his races, and he used to try the most outlandish thing on the menu the night before he raced, and he said it's always worked for him, but he wouldn't recommend that anybody else do that.
No, I definitely wouldn't recommend it. I mean, I work with an ultra runner, and when he goes off to races, he'll often, if he's in a country that he's unfamiliar with, he knows that pizzas are guaranteed dead cert to not upset his stomach. So if he doesn't really trust the food provision that's being provided, I don't think you can go far wrong with pizza the night before a race. So yeah, everybody has their own stories and their own anecdotes to what works for them.
Yeah, so no like squid, octopus, seafood special. Yeah. And so that's what you kind of some ideas about what to eat during the race. How important is it to eat breakfast before a race, and what are the kind of timescales involved in when you should eat that?
I mean, again, the timing and the type of breakfast will depend on the time of the race. So if you've got an early morning start, say 7 o'clock, then you might want to have your breakfast at 5, a couple of hours before. And then again, depending on your nerves and depending what goes down, things like people might end up having just things like Weetabix and milk, or toast and banana, stuff that might go down easier. People will have their normal breakfast like muesli and yogurt, or porridge. There's different types of, obviously, opportunity to have different breakfasts. It depends on what time your race starts, depends on nerves and what will go down.
Yes. Yeah, so again, try that for yourself. And then after the race, I like to have ice cream if there's an ice cream van on the race finish line, and I also like to have a pint of beer. Is that a good plan, or is there something better that I should be having just straight after my race?
Ice cream is pretty good, actually, because it contains carbohydrate and protein. So you're probably onto a good thing having the ice cream when you finish the race as a recovery. And again, depending on the race, if you're someone who runs and races on a regular basis, then I definitely say, have a protein shake or have something that contains protein and carbohydrates as soon as you finish. Probably a good idea for everybody. But again, if you're just racing for fun, then often things like ice cream and a beer afterwards is part of the enjoyment and the pleasure of taking part. These things now and again, like cake and ice cream and a beer, are absolutely fine. It's the consistency of our good eating practices that are the most important. So as long as they're not replacing the good nutrition that we should be eating to support our run performance, then actually these things sitting on top are absolutely fine. And yeah, ice cream's a good choice. Oh,
brilliant. So I can eat my cake and ice cream still, as long as I've done the running and I've eaten the salmon. That is good to know. And so there's other questions around races that I wanted to ask you about as well. So like I don't know if this is a myth or not, but certainly from the 80s, they used to have big pasta parties before things like marathons. But then I've been told that because you taper before a race, you actually don't need to stuff yourself with food the week before or even the night before. So what are your thoughts around, what's your experience and what does the research say around carb loading nowadays before big races?
Yeah, I think people's general impression of carb loading is that you eat loads of carbohydrate in the 2 or 3 days before and you fill you eat loads of it and you fill up with it. But actually, the idea around the carb loading 2 to 3 days before a race is that, yes, you are tapering, but you're tapering so that your muscles recover. Because when muscles are damaged, then they're not storing glycogen or carbohydrates. The idea of the taper is to allow your muscles to recover fully so then you can store carbohydrate within them. So you're setting yourself up for a good chance to have a full tank of energy for your race. And then for the carbohydrate loading, it's not about overeating on carbohydrate, but it's just including potentially a little bit more carbohydrate in those 2 or 3 days before. So yes, carb loading in the sense of eating more carbohydrate, but it doesn't mean you overeat on calories. So it means that you'll maybe pull back on some other foods that you're eating.
Oh, okay. So like just make sure that you've got a bigger proportion of potato or rice or something like that in comparison to veggies or something like that just a few days before your race.
Yeah, so just offsetting the composition or the calorie content. Again, people would just tend to have maybe chicken and rice, something that's light. Is absolutely fine and is a good one to have. But again, people tend to keep that light in the sense of not loaded with lots of other fillings.
Oh, okay. So yeah, and so not stuffing your face until you're like your tummy's hurting and full. It's not like stuffing yourself. Because when
No,
you
so
think
it's just eating more carbohydrate. Yeah.
Yeah, because when you think of carb loading, you just think of like really loading it up. But yeah, it's good to know that you don't have to stuff yourself. Okay, that sounds very straightforward and something we can all do. And there's a drug actually which is allowed. Caffeine is actually a drug, isn't it? And it's the only performance enhancing drug that we're really kind of allowed in this sport, isn't it? And you can use it to great effect or to great detriment, depending on how it goes for your body. But in your experience with your ultra athletes and your adventure racers, what role does caffeine play in racing and training maybe as well?
Yeah, caffeine, for some, it can be a good stimulant, a good boost to our performance in terms of our perceived effort, helping us to kind of put more effort into what we're doing, and we generally give us a lift. Some people who have adverse reactions to caffeine, gives them palpitations, headaches, doesn't really go well. But we know from the science that the caffeine is what we call an ergogenic aid. So it has been shown in the research to boost running performance. So it can be really useful depending on the distance of your race. People are doing runs, it's good to take caffeine on before. If people are doing longer ultra runs, then it's good to take on board, at points where you're starting to feel fatigued, or when you're running through the night, or towards the latter stages of the race, just to really give you that boost of taking on board caffeine. And that can come in the form of gums or coffee or Coke. Black Coke is really popular in trail races and running races. So again, it can come in a variety of form. But again, it's just, or coffee obviously is the obvious one. But again, it's just testing that all out in training. Again, it can be really good for training, just to give us a boost again, put a better quality effort to get more out of that session. But it can be used properly and wisely, then it can be a really good performance enhancer.
Yeah, it definitely can. I've had some before, like a coffee before parkrun, always makes you whiz round, doesn't it? But I was just wondering, how do you know exactly how much to take? Is it just a matter of practice for your own body, or is there sort of like a kilograms and milligrams ratio that we should be observing?
There is a milligram per kilogram ratio, but what we've also seen, like it's usually about 3 to 6 milligrams of caffeine per kilogram of our body weight. So like a cup of tea has got 55 milligrams of caffeine in. Coffee can vary depending if you've made it or you bought it from a cafe, can have around 150 to up to 200 plus caffeine in it. Things like green tea has got 10 milligrams of caffeine. A can of Coke, I think, has around, off the top of my head, I think 50 milligrams or 75 milligrams of caffeine. So caffeine content of drinks varies. And so, again, it's testing each one out. So, again, it could be 3 to 6 milligrams.
Oh, hello. Are you still there?
Oh, sorry, we paused again. Yeah, I'm still there. We paused again. Sorry about that.
You were saying it could be 3 to 6 milligrams, I think you were saying, of coffee?
Per kilogram.
Oh, per kilogram.
Yeah, per kilogram.
Okay. Yeah.
Per kilogram of your body weight. But test it out. And as I was saying, we've seen in the research, actually, we might not need that much. It's lower doses of caffeine from general drinks that we consume can actually just help boost up our performance, taken half an hour before you go running, or at points during the run itself. So again, it's about testing it out and see what works for you.
Yeah. Okay, that's fantastic. Thank you very much for that. And just going back to the subject of cake, because I do have a nice large packet of biscuits here, and I'm very proud of myself. I've only eaten one so far. And I recently I've just been like reaching for the biscuits, and like I'm not afraid to eat like half a packet of these days. So I was just wondering if you've got any little tips and tricks about how we can stop ourselves reaching for a piece of cake if we perhaps know that we don't really deserve it, we're just a bit bored.
Yeah, so you've hit the nail on the head. The first thing I would explore is, with someone like yourself who's often drawn to cake or biscuits or these sweet things, is I wonder what's missing in terms of your meal composition or your food intake through the day that might be lending you to feel like you need some sugar or you need a hit of energy. In terms of our meal composition, protein is often the one that we don't get enough of in each meal, and particularly at breakfast. Protein foods like eggs, fish, meats, tofu, beans, lentils, pulses, these protein-based foods are actually the most filling and satiating that we can eat, as well as helping support muscle recovery and adaptation that we all know them for. So by including protein in each meal and spread throughout the day, you're helping aid recovery. Recovery is a 24-hour process. So when you've done your strength session, say today, sometimes we're sore the day after,
yeah,
and we're still walking around feeling a little bit stiff, and that's our muscles still repairing. So recovery isn't necessarily this window that we are led to believe immediately after exercise. It's a 24-hour process. So it's about, again, drip feeding protein through the day. So making sure there's enough protein at each meal. And you can kind of start with a palm size. So from the palm to your knuckles tends to be a good portion for people with protein. Or 20
more
grams.
Than I thought.
Yeah.
Yes, that is more than I thought.
Yeah. It's a significant amount. Or 20 grams of protein per meal. So things like a salmon steak, chicken breast, 3 eggs will give you at least 20 grams of protein. And then making sure there's enough protein in your breakfast. Often, sometimes it's where we fall short: yogurt, eggs, or adding sort of half a protein shake or a protein shake in addition if we feel that we don't get enough. And by doing that, it will actually help keep us feeling fuller for longer, manage our energy levels throughout the day as well, and often then curb any cravings.
Okay. So feel fuller for longer with protein, and you probably won't want... I think I just like the taste of chocolate. I just really like
so that's
it.
Okay. So then I would talk you through, are there any swaps? So can you leave biscuits and cake for one day in the week or a moment in the month, and then have things like dark chocolate rice cakes? Dark chocolate's fantastic. Yeah.
I love a dark chocolate rice cake.
Yes, fantastic.
I like a whole packet of 6 dark chocolate flavoured rice cakes.
Maybe you're not eating enough if you're feeling hungry, although if you've got a little one at the moment, you see,
maybe it's that.
With your energy. Yes,
I blame Finley all the way.
So things like dark chocolate are great. So anything 75% above, good for antioxidants, good for recovery, potentially good for endurance and running performance too. So again, I would work with you and think, well, is there any swaps that can still give you that edge but actually make every mouthful count? So the dark chocolate rice cakes could actually be a good pre-training snack or pre-run track snack, and then dark chocolate would be great in terms of trying to swap out the cookies for less often and more dark chocolate. So it's about kind of understanding why you're having those biscuits and why you're drawn to them as often as you are, and then starting to see if we can replace them, not cutting them out. This isn't a test of willpower, but it's about changing the habit and then trying to understand where those cravings are coming from.
Yeah. Okay. I like that. That's really good. Thank you. And so maybe this is a bit of a similar question, but what in your opinion, like over your many years of research and working with all these different people, is there just like one thing that we could all do which would be the best thing for us nutritionally when it comes to helping us be better trail runners? If there was just one thing you could tell us to do, what's the most important?
I think there's a whole bag of things that I think would all come together. The biggest thing is do the basics and do them well. We often look to make things too overcomplicated. Keep everything simple. Think about your meal composition. So enough protein in each meal, carbohydrate, you adjust the portion size depending on the energy demands of the day. So that's your potatoes, rice, oats, pasta, those kind of foods. The more exercise you do, the more carbohydrate you tend to need, and then you can reduce down again for rest days or lower activity periods through the year. And then plenty of fruit and vegetables, 5 portions of fruit and veg. I would wonder how many people would have that, again, to not only for health but help with recovery from training as well. So green leafy veg and berries daily, and then starting every exercise session hydrated. So start every training session and run hydrated, because as you'll go into that training session and that run, you'll just become more dehydrated, which will increase the perceived effort of your running. It will just feel harder to do, increase the heart rate, so you're already putting in more stress than you need on the body in terms of then the benefits you'll get from the running. So it's kind of doing the basics and do them well. If you get that foundation right, you can then build from there. Often people want to race to the caffeine supplements or try the whey protein shake or the latest gel, whereas actually if you iron out your day to day, then that will make a huge difference in terms of supporting your training and recovery. So yeah, start there. It's kind of not one thing, but again, it's kind of a place to start for everybody.
Yeah, the foundations. No, that sounds really important. I definitely get that. And is there, just before I open this up to questions from the folks on the training camp, is there anything else that you think is really important to mention nutrition wise, or anything that you see really often that's a big mistake, or like anything for trail runners and ultra runners that you think is really, really handy in your opinion?
Not everything's about weight loss. I get people coming to me that one of the first thing is they want to lose weight to be better at running, or they want to lose weight, whereas actually, as I said, you get the foundations right, those natural changes in body composition will come, and the good quality food intake. I think I've mentioned most things really. Get your hydration right. So as long as you start on that start line hydrated, then again, you're just giving yourself a good opportunity. But in terms of anything else, I think they were the main points.
Yeah, that's interesting that I think everybody overlooks hydration, don't they? And they just think of nutrition in terms of losing weight a lot of the time, when actually I think that if you focus more on eating really high quality nutritional items rather than thinking about what you've got to cut out in your life, then that's a really good way of doing it, and not focusing on, I can't eat that, I can't eat that. You have to focus on, I can eat that, and I want to eat all these nice things. And the hydration is really important as well, because I think everyone thinks of nutrition as just the food, but water is so important. Ooh.
Yeah, and again,
I'm so excited.
That's a really good
pull
point.
my headphones out.
And that's a really good point you make. Often when it comes to nutrition, we think about what we take out. It's like, I need to lose weight, I need to cut calories, these foods out. But actually, it's about turning it on its head, and what can we add in? What can we add in that's more, that will support our run training goals? And so it's just about thinking about adding more and keeping it all simple, as opposed to our mindsets of, I need to lose weight, I need to eat less, I need to cut these foods out. And again, when we shift that mindset, then actually it can help really just give us a clearer direction of where we need to start in terms of what we need to add into our diet that's going to help us.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you so much, Rebecca. It's re-inspired me not to eat this whole bag of cookies now. I have got a hot chocolate on the go. It's made of milk and cocoa, so it's a hot chocolate on the go. That's after our strength session, so hopefully that's okay.
Good recovery. Yeah, fantastic. You've got carbohydrate and protein in the milk. Fantastic. And the chocolate just gives it a nice flavour. And the cocoa is antioxidants, so it's good.
Tick tick tick. And hydration, yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Hydration, it all counts towards your hydration, so fantastic.
Awesome, thank you, that's brilliant.
My pleasure.
I'm doing really well today then. So we've got these folks on my training camp, and I just want to open up to some questions from them. So hopefully Dave is there and paying attention so that he can type some into the live comments box. I know that he knows where that is, because he typed a good "yes, I'm here" into it earlier. So Dave and the guys on the training camp, do you have some questions for Rebecca about any aspect of nutrition and performance? I think the program that I'm using has a little bit of a delay, so there might be a little bit of a delay on the comments coming through, so I'll just preempt that with a little a question from me. So what was the first trail race that you did, Rebecca? And can you remember how you fueled yourself? Did you know about all these gels back then, or did you take a quiche, for example?
Yeah. I think one of the first trail races I remember doing with my sister was the Hell Runners. Do you remember the Hell Runners that were going around? There was one in, I can't remember the parks that they were held in. So they were just through bogs. They would have like a bog of doom, and you'd run through mud. Probably a bit more like
this.
But it was a good fun. So I guess I remember doing those. They weren't, and the thing was, they'd never tell you the distance that you were running. It was always around 10 to 12 miles, but you were never sure. I don't think I ever remember carrying anything for those, actually. But then some of the earlier trail runs I did, there was another one I did called the Saab Salomon. I just remember always just using flapjacks and things like Haribo. It's always been those types of foods for me. I really struggle with gels and sports drinks. I'll often make my own homemade sports drink with fruit juice because it just goes down easier than the sweet flavor of the sports drinks. But yeah, so often I'll just use, Nature Valley bars, Haribos, wraps, all this I know go down really well. And then a homemade sports drink that's just fresh fruit juice, water, and a pinch of salt. And again, just works. It seems to work really well for me, and something I prefer. And they're nice flavors, so they keep you going round.
And less expensive as well, which is always good.
Absolutely.
And less packaging and all this like stuff for the environment. That's really awesome to know. It's really nice to have those ideas as well. So Dave has just come through with a couple of questions from the guys at training camp. So this one's about after injury. So how should you be eating after an injury? Should you eat like more food or more of a certain type of food after an injury to help you recover?
Yeah, good question. It depends on the injury, like whether it's a break, whether it's a strain, whether it's trying to think of any other injuries you'd get, and whether it's an injury post-surgery. So again, it depends on the level of injury and the time to recovery and whether it's post-surgery. So if it's like a strain or a ligament pull, then things like getting more antioxidants, so your green leafy veg and berries, turmeric's fantastic. Collagen can help in terms of ligament strains and tendon pulls. So there's
you're back for me.
Are we back again?
Yep, that's good.
So
sorry about that
again. That's okay. Good hydration. Often when you're injured, there's some inflammation because your body's healing, so you want that natural inflammatory response, but then there's a release of kind of metabolic waste that you're trying to get rid of and then deliver nutrients to that site. So trying to really improve blood flow to that site, so making sure that you have good hydration again and really minimize alcohol and potentially cut alcohol out whilst you're recovering. Again, alcohol causes inflammation and can potentially slow, probably not going to be friends with many people, but can really slow down recovery. So again, it depends on the level of injury. If it's post-surgery, sometimes you want the inflammation response to happen, and so then you'll go in maybe 3 or 4 days after with the antioxidants and the recovery plan, because again, the inflammation process is good because the body's trying to repair itself. So again, it depends on the level of injury. But I hope that's given people some turmeric, collagen, and really up the antioxidants. So your omega-3s, so oily fish or omega-3 supplements, or your algae oil supplement if people are vegan, berries, green leafy veg are not super, but they're superior in terms of their quality and the antioxidants present. Dark chocolate, another one.
Excellent. I'm there. I love salmon. I love dark chocolate. That sounds brilliant.
Good.
Oh, that's really good. I didn't realize actually I had been taking turmeric in my porridge every morning, and then I ran out and I couldn't find the one that I was using in any shops, and so I just didn't have it for a few weeks, and I became really achy, and I all of a sudden I really noticed it. I didn't really notice taking it, but I noticed stopping taking it. So there must be so I take it now and I'm a lot less achy. So I didn't realise before that turmeric is that good. But I don't know about collagen. Like, how do you take that? Is that in a supplement, or is it in certain foods?
Yeah, so it's in a powder form. So you can buy it and there's collagen products for skin and things like that. But for collagen, companies called bulk powders or MyProtein are really good quality, but relatively inexpensive when it comes to supplements. So if you do take collagen, exactly as you've said, stay on it for at least 8 weeks for it to start to take effect. Often, if I'm working with someone and they're taking supplements like turmeric or something like creatine or glucosamine, I get people to stay on them, and then if they want to really find out if it benefits, then coming off them, so there's a washout period of these supplements, coming off them can help give you that feedback. Oh, actually, I do feel better on it, or my knee's better. Doesn't feel as achy because I'm on glucosamine or omega-3s, or like the turmeric, I feel like I'm not as stiff. So it's good. It's great that you sort of forgot or you couldn't get any more, because actually it just gave you the feedback. It's working, so you're not wasting your money on a supplement. No, it was just really interesting because I hadn't really thought anything of it. Great. I was like, I don't really know if this is working, and then I've just felt like an old woman. I've got to keep taking this. I'm hooked. The anybody's looking for things like turmeric, there's Health Span in the UK is a really good reputable company for things like glucosamine, turmeric, multivitamins and minerals, magnesium, zinc, vitamin C. Health Span make the supplements for the elite athletes, so that compete in the Olympics. So they're good quality. They do what they say on the tin, and relatively inexpensive. So for people often ask me where to get these supplements from. So try Health Span. My protein and bulk powders are kind of the first places I'd suggest, just because again the cost is relatively inexpensive for supplements, but actually they're effective. They do what they say on the tin.
Awesome. Okay, that's really good advice. That's excellent. Thank you. And so we've got just a couple more questions. If there are any more, Dave, then just do type them through now. I'll just go through these couple more just while we've got Rebecca here. So during an ultra, how many grams of carbohydrates should you aim to consume per hour? Oh, I never adhere to this. I just shovel it in whenever I can as jelly babies.
It's a fantastic question. So if you're new to ultra running, I'd suggest, for your training runs, probably between 30 to 60 grams of carbohydrate per hour. So it's, your standard gels and sports drinks and bars contain around 25 to 30 grams of carbohydrate per hour. But if it's a race, then actually we do see that those that consume more carbohydrate and calories in a race are the ones that finish. So I've just worked with two elite level ultra runners, and they both consume up to 90 grams of carbohydrate per hour. So that's 3 gels per hour. And one of my elite runners consumed 120 grams of carbohydrate per hour, and that was a 165 kilometer race with 10,000 meters of ascent. So again, but it's about practice. It's getting used to eating carbohydrate on the go. Elite ultra runners, racers are used to eating on the go, so they suffer less gut issues. And because they need the quick fuel and need to fuel a lot because they're running faster, they're working harder, then again 90 to 120 grams of carbohydrate, depending on the race, is appropriate for these people. Whereas actually if we're new to ultra running, or we're struggling to get used to eating carbohydrate, then practice. So a really good strategy is just to go out for an hour run, eat a gel or a banana before you start, and then at 20 minutes eat a gel, at 40 minutes eat a gel, and then just do that in one session a week for an hour. And again, you're getting your body used to eating carbohydrate on the go. We've seen you develop more receptors to absorb carbohydrate, and your muscles obtain more carbohydrate just by consuming more carbohydrate that way. So yeah, practice. Often people struggle because we just don't practice our race nutrition strategy enough in training.
Oh, that's really interesting, because I don't tend to eat a lot at all whilst I run. I can eat while running, but I just think, I don't want to be using energy to digest things whilst I run. So that's really interesting that you said the ones that have done the best are the ones that at the most carbs. There's quite a lot to carry, isn't it? All those gels as well.
Yeah, so often when you're consuming that amount, you've got kit bags, you've got aid stations. It's planned. So you'll start with, say, a certain number of gels to get you to a certain checkpoint in the race, and then you'll have your kit bags and your crew, and then we're back. Kit bags and crew will top you up. But there is a distinct difference between fueling your training and fueling your races. When we're racing, we tend to be running at a faster pace, and we're going for longer. So again, we tend to need to fuel more. We've seen in kind of for want of a better word, the normal ultra runners, I don't think there are, because anybody that completes an ultra race is fantastic. But the back end of the pack, the slower runners, again, for want of a better word, tend to kind of carry 60 grams of carbohydrate but only eat 30 grams. We've seen that in the research, whereas the elite ultra runners, as I said, are eating between 70 and 120 grams of carbohydrate. And we've seen that people that finish are consuming more calories and more carbohydrates per hour. So it's definitely practice. But that is different in training, because each training session is different and tends to be at a lower intensity as well. So you won't necessarily need to eat that much in a training session, but you'll need to practice your race nutrition strategy in your training. So I hope that's clear. So it changes for training, but when it comes to a race, but if you're not used to it, start with 30 and build up. 30, 35, 40, 50, 60. So you just get used to eating more, and getting used to eating when you're not hungry.
It's hard, isn't it? So I suppose testing them beforehand to make sure that you like them is that's what you said earlier. It just becomes even more vital. Okay, so the final question from the training camp folks is, you can buy expensive sport bean jelly sweets and things like that, but are the really expensive dedicated sports nutrition items, are they any better than just normal jelly beans and jelly babies and all this business?
Sorry, you broke up a little bit.
Oh, sorry.
I heard the sports beans.
Yeah.
Sports beans and...
Yeah, so are the expensive sports beans and sports nutrition's dedicated products, are they better than just normal jelly beans, jelly babies, you know, what you were saying about the Haribos, the flapjacks? Do you have to buy expensive sports nutrition, or is it okay to just buy the stuff down the aisle that you shouldn't normally walk down at the supermarket?
It's absolutely fine to buy the stuff as you walk down the Haribo, the jelly babies, the gummy bears, those kind of things, the cereal bars that we were talking about. The benefit often that comes with these sports beans and sports bars, they're specifically formulated to better gut absorption. So sometimes they'll come with a different mix of carbohydrates, glucose and fructose, and sometimes they're specially formulated to be easy on the stomach. And then also they'll always have a certain serving size that contains a certain number of grams. So when it comes to your race nutrition planning, it's easy to go, oh yeah, that one gel's got 30 grams. This pack of beans has got 30 grams and it's got some caffeine in, so great. So often the sports products do have a place and can be convenient and you can tolerate them. But actually, on the flip side of that, people tend to report they tolerate the real foods, the normal jellies better, as I said I did, and you can still work it out in terms of how much carbohydrate you're eating, but it's still absolutely fine to have the jelly babies, the natural cereal bars, as opposed to having to buy the sports products. Because again, the elite athletes that I work with, they tend to be sponsored by companies like Talk or Mountain Fuel or, you know, all of these High Five, Science and Sport. And so they get given the gels. So it doesn't cost them anything. Whereas when you tend to do your races, and we're all buying these sports products that then cost adds up. So again, maybe using these natural jelly beans bars and things for your training. And if you feel that some sports products are beneficial for your race, practice and training, and then using for the race, and it keeps cost down. But again, no problem in using these real kind of food choices, not that jelly beans are real food, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. Oh, that's really awesome. Thank you so much, Rebecca. So just before we go, I'd just like to say a big thank you, as I'm sure that everybody's found this really, really useful. And we're all really super inspired now to not eat too many biscuits and just eat lots of salmon and broccoli. I know that's what's going to be my dinner tonight. And so just let us know, how do people find out more about your services and follow you online? Because the new the class that you're starting up, that sounds really great. So just remind us about that and how we can follow you.
Yeah, so I've got a new website about to launch, and we're launching that in spring 2022. But you can go to my current website, is rebeccadent.co.uk, and if you go to the homepage, you'll see online nutrition programs, or you can sign up for a one-to-one consultation, and we can have a chat. And then you can find me on social media. I'm on Facebook as High Performance Dietitian, and on Instagram as High Performance Dietitian as well. And it'd be great if people want to connect and ask me their questions and share their experiences. It's always great to hear what people are doing in practice and what people's challenges and problems that we're having. I'm always happy to answer questions. So it'd be great to have people on board and hear their experiences. And then if people want to sign up to the online nutrition program, then again, go to the website and reach out and get in touch. And we're happy to have a chat with you and talk you through what that involves.
Oh, okay. And I've always thought like going for some kind of nutrition help might be super expensive. Have you got different levels of help that you can give? Is there like a basic, generic training plan, or here's a very special one-to-one thing? What are the different levels that you can do?
Yeah, so we have a range of services. So you can just have a one-off consultation, or you can have a one-off consultation and book in reviews thereafter. Or I have a series of 3 different packages, so people can then invest in the amount of support that they would like, depending on their needs and depending on what they're interested in receiving. So again, I'm happy to chat through any of that with people and sign up just for a free, no obligation call. Again, it's always great to speak to people and just hear about what people are interested in, just see what people's goals are. So yeah, please don't hesitate just to email me through the website Rebecca Dent, or email me at Rebecca Dent, rebecca@rebeccadent.co.uk, and just I'd be happy to book you in for a call and chat through your needs for nutrition.
Wonderful. Oh, well, thank you so much, Rebecca. It's been lovely to chat to you today. And thank you so much for all that amazing advice and information. And just knowing that we can all still eat our cake is probably a big relief to a lot of people that watch this channel.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's been a real pleasure. It's been great to be here. And I hope people can at least take one thing away from this time and start to kind of implement it into their training and their diet.
Yeah, well, do the basics right. That is the main thing that you said, isn't it? So we'll all start with that. We'll all go and make our salmon and broccoli for dinner now, with a little bit of rice on the side. So that's amazing. Thank you so much, Rebecca. I'm going to end the live chat now, and I'll see you back in Skype in just a moment. So bye to the training camp guys, and thank you very much for watching.